What's happening, brother? Welcome back to my channel. Today we have quite a fascinating, quite a curious vehicle for our review. Dodge Challenger Light, Diet Challenger if you may, 0% fat Challenger. Sewing supplies in the box of butter cookies Challenger. Hey mom, can we get a Challenger? We have a Challenger at home. Challenger at home. Challenger. An Uber Eats notification that tells you have a special offer and that you open and discover that instead of a buy one get one free, it's a 30% off if you spend $30 or more. Challenger. Serious review. 2021 Dodge Challenger GT all-wheel drive. Under the hood, we have a bit of a wah-wah moment. It's a 3.6 liter Pentastar V6, pushing out 303 horsepower and 268 pound-feet of torque. Predictably quite lackluster for the size of this beast. It's just enough to get it out of its way on the highway, but it's really nothing to write home about. Same engine that goes into Grand Caravans, Chrysler Pacificas, and Dodge Journeys, and Chrysler 300s. Very commonly used engine in the Dodge Chrysler lineup. Visually, this particular Challenger was equipped with the $470 blacktop package that included a lot of the blacktop badging and logos and trims, but mainly it included the so-called black noise wheels, 20 inches, 20 by 8 inches wheels that somehow look small on this car. The Challenger is so large, it's humongous, that even 20-inch wheels look small on it. And the mistake they made, I'm sure it was intentional, Dodge, but it looks comical in a way. They look like donuts on such a big vehicle. Realistically, I think what they should have done is they should have gone with a wider wheel. It doesn't have to be necessarily larger in the diameter sense, but they really should have made it at least a 9-inch wheel. That would have just given it a bit more meat and a bit more of a aggressive stance, and it wouldn't look like such a underwhelming wheel package. The Challenger GT also came with a surprise functional hood scoop that also gave this hood a, please don't take this out of context, a very aggressive bulge that looks really cool from the interior, from your driver's seat, even though it impedes on the visibility greatly, but it looks really cool nonetheless. In the rear, we have some of the best taillights in the market, except rent counter will be right here, right below here. This is why I don't have much faith in a lot of American cars. What the hell is this? What is this? This is a brand new car. How are you going to make a straight line, a straight tail light that will not even connect in a brand new, almost $50,000 car? And this is not just the issue with Dodges. This is issues with Lincolns and Fords. How many Lincolns have you seen? Unless you're paying attention to it, you won't see it. But as soon as you see it, you will not be able to unsee it. How many Lincolns do you see that are Navigators, $95,000, $100,000, and you still see this thing, this? How dare you make fun of Tesla fitments and Tesla quality when such a huge manufacturer like Dodge can't even get a taillight right. I'm sorry, what do you want me to say? Just look at it! And you will never be able to unsee it in a lot of Challengers that you see in the streets. You're welcome. And now that we're in the rear anyway, why don't we just check out the trunk? Trunk is massive, by the way. Double click of the key, pop in, and I can just fall right. Oh Jesus. Right in. It is huge. It is absolutely massive. Do I look as comfortable as I feel? Oh, and if you get kidnapped and you pull the latch to get out, just don't forget to run. Now in the interior of the Challenger GT, the situation is a bit worse. A lot worse, actually. Let me explain. Aesthetically, the interior is actually not bad. It looks pretty good. It's a pretty pleasant interior to look at. But the overall cheap quality of materials is just, firstly, in tune with a lot of Dodge products, unfortunately. But also, just if you look at some of the trims, it's just so cheap feeling, and so it just feels so budget. And for the price of this car, it's just kind of unacceptable, to be honest. This faux aluminum trim is just not, it's just not it. It's plastic and it looks cheap, feels cheap, sounds cheap. The knobs are black and rubberized, just regular black plastic. Really straight out of a rental car, to be honest. The vents are okay, pretty good. Some of the dashboard materials are very just disappointing to touch. They look better than they feel. The window switches are god awful, man. Very bad. Like they really couldn't even like make them aluminum or something. Like the door handle, for example. It's not aluminum, right? A very nicely feeling plastic. The steering wheel. I have a whole separate gripe with the steering wheel. Okay, now firstly, the first thing that just jumps right out of you is just how cheap these buttons look and feel. This is unacceptable in a $47,000 car. I don't care if it's a Dodge. That should not be the case. It's just, it hurts my soul that somebody spent this much money on a car that has this interior, to be honest. The 3 empty buttons, wow, it's bad, man. It's a sad state of affair, to be honest, for this interior. The steering wheel grip is just terrible. What I'm specifically referring to is that when I'm holding the steering wheel, there is no grip behind the steering wheel itself. Right here, behind where 3 out of 5 fingers would be resting and gripping the steering wheel, there's nothing to grip here. It's just almost flat. So realistically, when I'm driving, it honestly just feels like I'm gripping the steering wheel with just my crustacean claws, with my index finger and my thumb right here, and that's it, because the rest is just sliding around. There's no grip for the other 3 fingers. It's terrible. It's not a very confidence-inducing grip in the steering wheel whatsoever. In fact, $15,000 cheaper Outlander ES base trim has a nicer steering wheel than this. The shift pedals are really just for the index and the middle finger. They don't extend down. Not a big fan of that, but something to get used to again. The headliner just feels and sounds like a reusable grocery bag. I actually have the delivery sheet for this specific Challenger. So some of the goodies that it included was the Plus Group package that cost $2,645, and it included some of the goodies that you see in the interior, some of the highlights of the interior actually. These Napa leather and Alcantara faced seats that sound like they were packed with packing peanuts. But are pretty comfortable. They're ventilated, but also they are electronically adjustable front to back and up and down, but not the backrest. Like, seriously? You could make it like just fully electrically adjustable? Dodge. The Plus Group package also included the 8.4-inch infotainment screen, performance steering wheel, which I've already touched on. I don't like it, to be honest, but it is heated, which is a huge plus. Some of the ambient lighting was a part of the package as well, and also dash performance pages, which are really cool and quite useful, and it's just a lot of fun to play around with, but I'll go a bit deeper into them in just a second. And the last highlight of the package are the 6 Alpine speakers that are pretty decent. I can't complain. They're not Harman Kardon, but they are good. The blind spot monitoring works well. The rear view camera is bad. It kind of looks like a webcam from 2002. The resolution is just not there. Okay, one last major thing that I really don't like is that the window switches are only automatic on the way down, but they're not automatic on the way up, and you just have to hold it all the way throughout. It's just one of those little annoying things, really. But there are things that I like a lot in this car, and mainly it's the infotainment and the gauge cluster. The gauge cluster, I love the aesthetic, that vintage muscle car aesthetic. We have 2 analog dials on both sides, and the screen, the LCD screen, is great. It shows you so many different things. I'm not even going to start listing all of them. You get your fuel economy, a bunch of different fuel economy information, trip info, audio, performance, so many performance indicators, current G-forces, braking distance, 400-meter timer, 200-meter timer, 0 to 60, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 0 to 160 kilometers an hour, top speed, lap history, your lap times, peak G-forces. That's just the performance. In the vehicle info, you have the graph that's showing, the image that's showing if the vehicle is in rear-wheel drive mode or all-wheel drive mode. So many pieces of very useful information about a car, about this particular car, that you can identify if there are any issues just by looking at the dials. This is great. In the vehicle info, we have battery voltage, intake air temperature, engine torque, engine power, tire pressure, coolant temperature, transmission temperature, oil temperature, oil pressure, oil life. Damn, this is so good. I really like this combination of digital and analog. I think this works really well. Now, the 8.4-inch infotainment screen is great. I really like it. This is one of the highlights of the interior for me, one of the biggest highlights. The resolution is great. It's touchscreen at all times. It is reasonably responsive. You can access so many things on it as well. Sometimes it's a bit slow. Like, for example, when you go into performance pages, it will show you, please wait, and it will show you this underground style, and the Need for Speed Most Wanted, Need for Speed Underground style graphic that says performance pages loading. But you can see so much cool stuff in the performance pages. The drag indicators, acceleration and braking, the gauges. It can show you the oil temperature, oil pressure, oil coolant temperature, battery voltage. Yeah, there's so many cool things that I'm not even like that. These pages really deserve a whole lot of the video. Android Auto works great resolution. Everything just makes sense. Touch screen, everything looks good, works well. Climate controls are also here. Everything makes sense. Big buttons, icons, should I say. Controls of the heated steering wheel, heated seats, etc. Mirror dimmers, everything is here. Media, really like this infotainment. One other thing that I really like about this interior is how logically laid out the buttons are. Even though I don't like the look of them or the feel of them, I really like how easy they are to use. I really like how logical everything is. The steering wheel buttons make perfect sense. No guesswork there. The cluster of buttons underneath the infotainment screen is really dunce-proof. It's so fascinating to me how simple the layout is and how many very useful and regularly accessed things I can do with just one button. I can mute my music with one big button. I can turn the screen off, the infotainment screen, with one big button. I can turn the traction control with just holding it while fully stopped. Unfortunately, that's the only requirement. But you can just hold the off button and it will turn it off with one big button. Driving modes, big button. Sport, regular. Sport and default. HVAC controls. It's just so simple. It's so simple, it's genius. I love it. I absolutely love it. One other cool thing about the Challenger is that you can actually use it for 4 adults, 5 adults even. They'd have to be pretty short, rightfully so. Definitely under 5'8", 5'9" or so. But yeah, the rear seats are surprisingly usable. I'm actually surprised by how much space I have here. Just, well, really just an inch or so, but I fit. I'm comfortable. Although getting out of it is kind of a pain. Now the price. I really want to talk about the price because this is very important. One of the most important aspects of the Challenger GT. The final price of this Challenger GT was $47,480 of the Canadian Monopoly money. That is a lot of money for what you're getting. It doesn't feel like a lot of car for the money, for the price, because it really isn't, right? The drivetrain is lackluster. We know that. It's perfectly fine for the weight of the vehicle, but it's not fun whatsoever. It's not why you buy a Challenger necessarily. It's not why traditionally people buy a muscle car. You know what you can get for just a little bit more, for like $48,000? You can get a V8, a 5.7 liter V8 Challenger with just a few less interior goodies. Does it really make sense to get a GT all-wheel drive if you can actually get a V8 for just a little bit more? You know what else you can get for $47,000 plus tax? You can get a brand new Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus with $5,000 federal incentive that you get back. Or you can add just a few $1,000s more and get yourself a Stinger GT. A GT, even a GT line, that would be much less than this, but a GT line, the 2.5 liter 2021 Stinger, it'll be faster than this still, even faster to accelerate than this car. That's a 4-cylinder Kia. Yes, the all-wheel drive is very nice, and in winter, I'm sure it's a blast. I'm sure it's an absolute pleasure to drive, right? And I'm sure we'll drive through the worst blizzard. So if you're looking for a Challenger that can drive through a blizzard comfortably, this is the one to go with. But other than that, it just doesn't make sense. Alright, but what is the Challenger GT actually like to drive? If I could describe it in one word, I think it would be chill. Weirdly enough. Comfortable would be another word. And cruiser, really. As soon as you put your foot down, it's just... it goes for the first, for the first 50 kilometers, 40 to 50 kilometers or so. But then the power just kind of tapers off and you just don't have the torque to carry this giant, heavy machinery, right? Don't get me wrong, it's still a quick car by the general standard of cars. right? And you would have no issues getting up to speed on the highway, and most of the cars on the road, you'll probably be quicker than them. But really, when you look at it from a Challenger perspective, it's not really what the Challenger is all about, right? If you want to experience the Challenger in its purest form, you need to get at least the 5.7 liter V8. As long as it has a V8, you will be able to experience the Challenger the way it was meant to be experienced. You don't have to go into Hellcat and even Scat Pack. Although, if you have the opportunities, then, why wouldn't you? But I can't say that I'm not enjoying myself in this car at all. Actually, that on the contrary, it's comfortable. It rides nicely. The seats are pretty comfortable. It's reasonably quiet. I love this giant hood scoop that just makes you feel like you're driving something so powerful and pompous and just so important on the road. Terrible visibility, so it adds to that tank-like driving experience. But you do have the blind spot monitoring, which helps a lot because you have some giant blind spots. But blind spot monitoring is actually an absolute gem of a system in this car. And the looks, the way people treat you on the road, you really feel a difference. Just today, I was in the third lane from the left, and I was trying to make a left turn, and there were like 20 cars in both first and second lane on the left at the intersection waiting to turn. And the light, the advanced green, was already lit up for them, and they started moving. And I was thinking like, okay, I missed this, right? I was in the third lane, I missed this, I'm not making it. But then I turn on my indicator, and I'm like, well, why not? let's see what happens. A Ram truck just stops way behind me and lets me get in, while the whole lane is already moving and making the left turn at the intersection. That's crazy to me. Some people absolutely hate you. They just froth at the mouth as soon as they see a Challenger. They don't even care if it's a V6, rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. They don't give a damn. They're just like, they're ready to seize, But some people, they either have some respect or fear. I don't know which one it is, but they let you go and they cooperate on the road. And they always give you, oftentimes they give you the right of way, oddly enough, which definitely does not happen in my Miata as much. The all-wheel drive system, I don't know how it works. I don't know why it turns on. I know for a fact that if you turn off your traction control, if you go into sport mode, all-wheel drive system just goes into all-wheel drive, and then when you turn the sport mode off, it reverts back to rear-wheel drive, and it stays in rear-wheel drive for the most part. But then sometimes I'll be going very slowly, or just regular cruising, and it'll be in all-wheel drive for no reason. I'm not sure why. It's summertime outside. What's the point, right? The brakes are not very confidence-inducing whatsoever, and I don't like that. I want some more stopping power from something this big and heavy, to be honest. It feels like a very big car when you're driving. It feels like a very heavy car as well, but it handles its weight surprisingly well. It stays in its tracks. And one kind of disappointing thing, depending on, I guess, who you talk to, right? One disappointing thing is I was never able to break tires loose in the Challenger GT. You could see it as a good thing. I see it as a bad thing because it doesn't really firstly, it doesn't allow you to choose the modes, rear-wheel drive mode or all-wheel drive mode. And I would like to be able to break some tires loose. It's a Challenger, right? I would like to burn some rubber, you know what I'm saying? But you will not be able to do that with this. It's too heavy and it doesn't have enough torque. In winter, maybe. In the snow, definitely. But on a regular road, in summertime, nah, fat chance, unless you have some bald tires. Yeah, it's underpowered for having any sort of slightly fun. But on the bright side, this is really the Challenger for somebody that might not be comfortable with a full-blown V8 Challenger, right? Or maybe they only have the space for one car and they want to choose something they can be driving from summertime all the way into the wintertime through the biggest, thickest blizzards. So it's totally understandable. If you're looking for that Challenger experience from the looks perspective and the look, you know, the visibility perspective, right? Most people on the road will think you have a V8 Challenger, right? Most people will be like, sick Challenger, dude. Right on, brother. But, you know, the ones who know, they'll know, you know. But if you're looking for that muscle car experience without having the driving ability of, you know, driving a rear-wheel drive V8 muscle car, then this is definitely something you might want to consider. It's a good, I can just say it's a good entry-level muscle car. Before we end this video, I do want to reassure you that I do not hate the Challenger GT. Even with all its imperfections and cheap materials and all the Dodge and all the American car things, I still thoroughly enjoyed my time with the car. It's peppy enough, you know, it's comfortable, it has good tech, good infotainment and all the fun Dodge performance goodies, infotainment goodies, not the drivetrain goodies. But as a final thought, if you're really committed to having a Challenger and that muscle car look and that muscle car appeal and image, and you are not comfortable with driving a V8 muscle car in winter and year-round, this might be the one to go with. And it's better on gas also, not that you care about because it is a Challenger, but it is something worth mentioning. It's better on gas. It's all-wheel drive, so you know it's going to drive you through the thickest of blizzards in Canada and the US and worldwide. I'm sure we can make through a lot of things. But when it gets to that price range of high 40s, low 50s, to me personally, it stops making sense. There are better options out there. You can get either slightly used V8 Scat Pack or a brand new V8 RT 5.7 liter for just $1,000 more. A Tesla Model 3, Kia Stingers, just a few grand more. It's a very competitive price range and there's a lot of good stuff for this money. And to me personally, I don't think it makes sense. But after all is said, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with the Challenger GT, and I am definitely not mad to be meeting this beautiful sunset with the 2021 Challenger GT. I'll see you in the next one.